Oh man, so a bad red day in the crypto market. We got Bitcoin falling 4.5%, Fantom down 8% as the markets really do tumble. We've mentioned in our early video a few hours ago that Bitcoin was breaking down from a key pattern. We continue to be breaking down from that pattern, and Fantom is following suit, as is all the altcoins. A really bad day in the stock markets, in the equity markets as well. We're going to cover all of that off. We're going to look at the key levels and where I think this next move down can take us to, because this down move I was predicting, and I'm going to tell you the exact levels I think we could be bouncing on Bitcoin, on Fantom, and a few other coins as well. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. As always, if you like my perspective, don't forget to consider checking out the course member live streams, ijaz.uk/member. Let's get straight to the charts, guys, because as you can see here, we were forming this bearish continuation pattern, and it all started after we got the bounce on Bitcoin from 25,300. That was during the whole lunar scare on that horrible day, and then we started to see a bit of a bounce, right? And people started feeling really confident with the tops at about 31,000. But the key level we had to break was that 31,000 mark, and we created a neckline where we got rejected the one time, the twice, and then we struggled around 30,000. And it was at this point that it became very clear that we were creating a bearish continuation pattern. So if I zoom out to the 4-hourly candles, you'll see this a little bit better. We had a very big bearish move to the downside ever since 40,000. A big move. This is exhausting for bears. If you take the psychology of bulls and bears, this is a really exhausting move, and you can see the RSI really did peak out. That you're in oversold territory for quite a while, right, beneath the green lines. And at this point, you knew that some buy pressure was going to come in. But I kept warning that this could just be a RSI reset. This could just be a bear flag before a bigger move to the downside. And I've got this level at 24, which I am suggesting we may be heading towards. So that's the macro kind of target I'm looking at. And you can see now we started to break down from this pattern. So if I go back to the hourly chart, now what we need to do is try to understand where we're heading to. And in my video a couple of hours ago, I said if we need to look at the pivot points to the left. Okay, so your first pivot point is this point here, and that point gives you a low of 29,060. That's pretty much exactly where we're at right now, and you can see some support trying to come in to see if we can do this, right? But if we lose this level, you're going to come down to the next pivot point, which is this one, and that sits in at about 28,600. Okay, so we could be losing these pivot points successively, and then you'll be heading towards the bottom of the wedge. So your ultimate target from this breakdown, and there's two really. One is the bottom of the wedge, which sits at 26,200. But technically, you could also head all the way down to 25,300 on the wick of the candle as well, because you can't ignore the wick. So that's pretty much where we could be heading to the downside on this candle. Now, it doesn't help that we've got the markets really burning right now. Like, it's horrible out there. If you go and look at the Dow Jones, it's down 3.17%. This is the Dow Jones. This is not some altcoin. This is not Bitcoin. This is the Dow Jones, the bluest of the blue chip companies. Things like Walmart and Target missing on earnings, giving fears of inflation, fuel prices going up, labor price going up, making it very difficult for them to meet their earnings expectations. And the Dow tumbles 1,000 points on Wednesday, the biggest loss since 2020. Yes, the biggest loss since COVID. This is peak fear right now, guys. Peak fear. You can see we're sitting here at 12. This was taken, remember, this snapshot is always taken earlier in the day. So by the time you get this refresh for tomorrow, no doubt this will be back down to lows. Remember, yesterday was 8. This is a crazy number. And if you go down to the yearly chart, these are kind of numbers you just don't see. I mean, going back into last year, 2021, the lows you were getting were about 11, 10, 12, right? You don't get into the single digits. Yesterday was sitting at 8. So the market is very fearful. And if we click back on over here, you see the S&P is down 3.6% and the NASDAQ is down 4.3%. That is huge. Growth stocks are not in favor right now. Risk is very, very firmly off, and we're heading towards a bear market. And if not, we're already halfway through a recession, right? We've already had 1 quarter of negative growth, and another one would put us in a confirmed downturn with a global slowdown. So markets have a reason to be fearful with all this inflation going around, and we're seeing that obviously royal stock markets as well, because stock markets are right now correlated to the equity markets. And that is why even when this was starting to rally up and people are like, oh, we're ready to head back to the upside, I wasn't buying it. 1, the trend was with the bears. 2, this was a bearish continuation pattern. And 3, we do not have equities on board. That is why I could feel so confident that there was a little bit more downside to have. And now I'm starting my nibbling process. And if we lose each pivot point, the nibbles will get bigger as we head down towards 26,000. And if we do get to 25,300-ish. Okay, now let's take a look at the Fantom chart as well. And let's give some exact price targets for Fantom for those of you who are looking to nibble some entries, because Fantom is now going to get itself set up for some lower pricing. So you'll see we ran up as high on that candle to 43 cents before then entering our wedge. And you saw we got lower highs here. So the writing was a bit more on the wall here on the altcoins because they were heading to the downside. And now you can see again, we've lost our first pivot point, which is the one in here. Now we need to look to the next one, which is where you can see a little bit of support coming in. If not, we're then going to fall to the next level at 29.30 level, which is this pivot point here. And then we start looking at the bottom of the wedge. And so the ultimate target is really 24 cents at the bottom of this wedge. And that's what you'll be looking out for here on Fantom. So again, are we nibbling to make sure I'm buying, but I don't want my Fantom position to become over allocated? Very, very important. For those of you who still don't understand, portfolio allocations are really important, and hopefully the lunar shock has taught you that as well. So always keep it in check. If you're buying a bit more Fantom, buy some other big caps as well. Buy some Bitcoin, buy some Ethereum, buy some Solana to balance that out for you as well. Let's also take a look at Bitcoin dominance, because Bitcoin dominance naturally took a big run over the last few days during the fear, right? This is the 4-hourly chart, and you can see here over the last week or so a really big run up to Bitcoin dominance. And this is the evidence that when things get tough, everything rotates into Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin outperforms in moments of toughness. And that is why you need that anchor in your portfolio. You cannot not have enough Bitcoin. You need to have a good anchor in your portfolio with enough Bitcoin. I like to keep it at around 40% as best as I can. Now, I know some people want less and they want to take more risky plays. I get that, but that's easy to say in the good times. In the tough times, this is what you're going to need. And that was an example there. Now you're seeing it call off. This could, again, just be a bullish continuation pattern on dominance, and we could see another bigger move to the upside, because again, if Bitcoin's price is falling and altcoins will be falling at a faster rate, dominance will obviously go up with that as well. Okay, so that's an important thing to understand. It's the relative movement there on the dominance. Let's also take a look at the Do Kwon vote. So this is a snapshot taken a couple of hours ago, but we had 73 million votes with approximately 65 million. That's 90% voting yes. Is this rigged? Is it not? We really don't know at the end of the day. What are the intentions of each of the DApp developers? We've kind of spoken about it to death. If you want to go watch that video from earlier on where I explain why these changes are so sneaky and why I'm against this kind of setup here on this fork, do go watch that video and I break down my thoughts on why I don't think it's the best path for Luna holders and UST holders. I feel like it's got the wrong interest in mind, and it's a project that's going to be full of baggage and full of conflicting objectives, right? Because ultimately he just wants to make the victims of the first terror right again. And it's like Ponzi within a Ponzi, as I say in that video. So make sure you go watch that video to understand what a Ponzi inception is. So we cover that off. Now, the other thing worth noting off is Fantom decided to tweet. Yes, the Fantom Foundation decided to tweet. And they felt the need to talk about FUSD. And part of this is due to the fact that we're seeing stablecoins really get hit. We've seen the DAI token, right, from Deuce Finance struggling with its peg. And we've seen now Fantom coming out to kind of give some confidence around FUSD almost. So they're saying, this is the tweet. FUSD is not UST, right? FUSD is an over-collateralized stablecoin similar to DAI backed by staked Fantom. UST had nothing backing it. Very important, very important. So UST was algorithmically backed. So for this whole time, it was algorithmically backed. And at the point that Do Kwon decided to go buy Bitcoin reserves, it was very partially backed, like 30% backed almost, right? Fantom is over-collateralized, over 100% collateralized. FUSD is over 100% collateralized, and that's the difference. Users create FUSD by borrowing against their staked Fantom. There was no such mechanism, very important, no such mechanism in the algorithmically backed stablecoin. I think a lot of people aren't understanding it, and I kind of retweeted this and put a message on the top to say anything with the word stable and coin in are getting some pain, right? So right now, people don't care if you're over collateralized, if you're backed by this, or if you have an audit, or if you're partial, you know, like they go stable coin, you're getting wrecked, right? So that's how the market is right now. We're in a peak fear market. 2, if the value of the Fantom goes below the minimum collateral ratio, then the Fantom is progressively auctioned off to users who bid using FUSD to keep the peg. UST had no auctioning process. An in-depth blog detailing how FUSD functions will be released over the coming weeks. Thank you, Fantom. That should have been released a long time ago. Even a week ago would have been great, but to wait another couple of weeks, yeah, really fun. So there you have it, guys. That is the crazy markets we're in right now. As predicted, there is going to be more movement to the downside. I mean, that's what I said. When we were kind of getting that movement to the upside, it was quite obvious as a bearish continuation pattern, and it looked like we were going to tip over to the downside. So I'm going to be nibbling, and if that way we don't go all the way to the bottom of the wedge and we just rotate and head back up again, at least I've done my nibbling and I'm ready to go. But if we fall lower and lower progressively, the nibbles will get larger so as to build out the positions a little bit more. And that's how you do it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, smash up the likes and subscribe. If you appreciate this type of content, then consider checking out the course member live streams, ijaz.uk/member. Yes, that's 3 times weekly live streams, technical analysis, fundamental analysis. We can help you build out your portfolio and all the things to look for and teaching and all that in those course member live streams. What I'm going to do now is at the end of this video, I'm going to link across to the Michael Kong interview. If you've still not watched that, make sure you go watch that. In these moments when you're having to buy the dip and have conviction in projects, it's important you really understand what a project is doing. So go listen to the CEO of Fantom on what he's trying to build and the future of Fantom and what he believes it can achieve, and maybe that will inspire you to buy the dip. Hope you guys enjoyed this video as always, and I'll see you in the next one.